A deeply divided Congress and new House Speaker Mike Johnson now has less than 1 week left to prevent a government shutdown. Federal funding expires on Friday, November 17th, and this afternoon, House Republicans will hold a call as they map out a strategy. Johnson has to decide between a bill to appeal to his party's hardliners or a bill that would get Democratic support past the Senate as well and dare his right flank to vote against it. So joining me now to discuss this and more is Congressman Glenn Ivey. He is a Democrat from Maryland. Congressman, good to see you. Look, this is a pivotal moment for the new speaker, but obviously Congress as a whole and the country. Do you think he's going to introduce a bill that will pass or try to make some of the more hardliners in his party happy, a little similar to what we saw when Kevin McCarthy was speaker?
You know, I'm not sure at this point. You know, he had an appropriations bill that was on the floor earlier this week. He had to pull it before the vote for final passage. So apparently he didn't have the votes within his caucus to continue moving forward. So it looks like the honeymoon might be over for him already, even though he's only been in the position for, I guess a couple of weeks at this point.
Bottom line, you're not expecting to go into your office on Monday with an easy road to Friday and a deal done.
Yeah, it's not been an auspicious debut for this. I mean, the supplemental package that the administration sent, he decided to break out the Israeli supplemental piece and then link it to IRS funding, which has nothing to do with any of the emergency issues that we've got going. Instead, it was sort of a bone, I guess, to his right flank there, even though everybody knew it was going to be dead on arrival when it got to the Senate. So I'm not exactly sure how he's going to play this, but he's not off to a great start.
Look, if you had gone into the days before a budget deadline super optimistic, I would have wondered what was wrong with you, because that's just not what D.C. does. But I do want to say that obviously there are politics at play. There are budget items to figure out. But at the end of the day, a government shutdown, if we get to that point, is harmful to the American public and specifically to your Maryland district as well, which borders the D.C. area. I mean, how damaging would a government shutdown be? What are the stakes that you were preparing as we head into this week?
I mean, they'd be extremely impactful with respect to not just government workers who would be at risk if they're deemed not essential, not getting paid for the work that they're doing. Essential personnel, even though they will get paid eventually, wouldn't get their checks right away. So for people who have to pay rent right away, they'd be pressed into, financial dire straits potentially. The impact across the country could be significant as well. For example, TSA, the Border Patrol, military, people getting veterans benefits, ironically today, Social Security benefits. Even though most of the benefits are guaranteed to continue moving, not all services will be continued to be provided. So all of those could have a bad ripple effect. And the bigger piece, too, I think, from a macroeconomic standpoint is, the economic world, Wall Street and the like, are already concerned that Washington's dysfunctional and putting the economy at risk. This is yet another bad sign, I think, with respect to that issue.
And one of the hang-ups last time around when, at the end of September, when the bill was essentially punted to a week from today, was around funding for Ukraine. And now, obviously, we are at this point. How important is it that the bill for you includes funding for Israel, Ukraine, and the southern border?
Well, we think all of the supplemental pieces should move forward. That would include humanitarian aid as well. The issue is going to be, for some reason, many Republicans have decided that they don't necessarily want to continue to provide support for Ukraine. And I think that's part of why the Speaker broke that out, before the Israel supplemental vote that he took a few weeks ago. So I'm not sure what he's going to do at this point. The challenge, though, is there's a lot to get done in the next few days. There doesn't seem to be a real sense of urgency. I mean, they sent us home 2 days early, basically, where we could be working Friday, Saturday, or through the weekend if necessarily. But they don't seem to be concerned enough to push us into service in that way.
Yeah. Well, we will see what happens there. I want to shift gears a little bit and ask you about another major development that impacts your district. The Biden administration just selected Greenbelt, Maryland, for the location for the new FBI headquarters. It's a decision that's actually now being blasted by FBI Director Christopher Wray, who called the process flawed. I want to read a little bit of his statement here. He said that in the course of our work with the GSA, the General Services Administration, we identified concerns about a potential conflict of interest involving the Site Selection Authority and whether changes that individual made in the final stage of the process adhered to the site selection criteria. Our concerns are not with the decision itself, but with the process. So I just want to get your take on the FBI director's statement there, but also Virginia Democrats have vowed that this fight isn't over, that this selection isn't over. So what's your response to some of them as well?
Well, I was really disappointed with the FBI director's attack on that civil servant, even though I think he basically acknowledged there was no evidence of a conflict of interest or any kind of misconduct. So you do wonder why he would raise that kind of red herring. But at the end of the day, on the merits, the site that was selected in Maryland saves American taxpayers between $1 billion and $1.5 billion. Metro access, the subway, was one of the factors. The Greenbelt site is in walking distance. The site in Virginia, you would need a shuttle to get back and forth. The Greenbelt site is shovel ready. We could get started on that almost immediately. The site in Virginia is encumbered with buildings that are already occupied, so they'd have to clear the buildings out of the workers, tear the buildings down, and then clear the sites. Could delay everything by a year or two. So it seems pretty clear to me that on the merits, the Greenbelt site was the right one to pick going away. I understand that there are people who would rather have it be in Virginia, especially folks who are in Virginia. But I think from the taxpayer standpoint and from the federal government standpoint, this was the right selection. And one last point. The building in D.C. is currently, there are chunks of it falling down, putting pedestrians at risk, putting employees at risk. I think it's dangerous for FBI employees to delay this unnecessarily when the decision to put it in Greenbelt is right on the merits, and we should move forward immediately.
Well, we will see if your Virginia Democrats are right, or as you all in Maryland, I know, alongside Governor Wes Moore there, in a sense, celebrated, of course, the decision to it being in Greenbelt. We will see what happens. Congressman Glenn Ivey, thank you so much.
Thank you.